What's up, guys? Your boy King Red Diamonds, and I'm back for another Nioh 2 video. Today I'm showing off the long-awaited Tonfa build. I don't know why I never put a Tonfa build on my channel. I don't understand, but here it is. Sorry it took so long. Honestly, the main thing I had an issue with was the scroll. The scroll took forever to grind. It was hell, honestly, and it if I in my opinion, getting what I needed off of the scroll, it was so worth it, because this build took entirely too long to make. And it's crazy because I actually had most of the pieces of gear for the build already in my inventory, like they were in my storehouse, so I technically didn't even really need to grind as much to make this build. The only things I really needed to grind were the only thing I needed to grind was the Valiant Wanderer set, which is the set I'm using in this build, but I'll explain that in the second half. But I am using Valiant Wanderer and Nini's Grace. But the Valiant Wanderer set was the only thing I needed to grind, and honestly, I got most of those pieces in no time. I did probably like 2 or 3 runs just to get the pieces I really truly needed. And then the scroll took me um, a ridiculous amount of 100 night incense. Like it, like I don't know what the RNG gods were doing with me, but like my goodness, it was terrible. But this is it. I hope you guys enjoy it. I ask that you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you so much for supporting the channel. Recently hit 800 subs. That is ridiculous. I never thought I'd get there, especially as soon. My channel is only around a year old, so for me to hit that milestone like that, I really appreciate all the support and everything. So I hope you guys stick with me and enjoy the content I put out. I'll definitely be a lot more consistent. This build took forever, so that's why it took so long to come out. But I got it in the end. But as you can see here, I'm taking on floor 11 of the depths. This build isn't it is in terms of like early stages. This is definitely a build that you can run all the way up until, I would say, at least floor 15 of the depths. After that, you might want to switch to a more tanky style build, because this build isn't very tanky. This set is medium armor, and honestly, no matter how much toughness I try to stack on the pieces of equipment, it will never be over 300 toughness. So this build definitely will take you into deeper in the depths. Honestly, I would recommend this build for very skilled players with the Tonfa. If you aren't skilled with the Tonfa at all, I do not recommend you run this build anywhere past the 15th floor. I did try to run this build on like the 21st floor, and I did beat it. But any floor above that, it was a challenge, and honestly, I could not beat it. If I try to take this into like the 26th floor, 30th floor of the depths, it's not something I would say that you want to use unless you are very skilled with the Tonfa, because this build is powerful. This is a very powerful build, and it can beat the depths. But since I'm not particularly skilled with the Tonfa, it's not something that's within my power to do. The Tonfa are very close quarters combat weapons, so it's kind of tough to use them effectively if you don't know them inside and out. But as I finish up this part, I'm going to actually take on some human enemies. I remember someone in the comments telling me they wanted to see me fight more human enemies. So I'm doing a Scroll of the Damned right now, taking on some human enemies, just to show you how the Tonfa do against humans. In my opinion, the Tonfa are much better against humans than against yokai, because the Tonfas deal with a lot of grapples. Like, the Tonfas have grapples, and they're mainly used for dealing ridiculous amounts of key damage. Humans take a lot more key damage than yokai do. It's a lot easier to drain a human's key rather than a yokai's key. So the Tonfa are perfect against human enemies. Um, they devastate human enemies, no problem. Plus, human enemies tend to guard a lot. Yokai don't guard. They pretty much just, take hits and deliver hits. Like, they tank through hits and deliver hits and stuff. But humans actually guard. So the Tonfa can chew through a human's guard, no problem. As you see, like a couple hits, it takes only a few hits to get their key down to zero key, just because like the Tonfa are built for human enemies. Now, that's not to say that they can't do devastation to yokai, which they most certainly can, but they just seem to work a lot better against a human enemy than against yokai enemy, and that's just in my experience. Again, I'm not the best with the Tonfa. I'm not that skilled with the Tonfa, honestly. If it were dual swords or something like that, I would destroy pretty much any and all content in the game, because the dual swords are just so, there's the combat for those are so easy and fluid, and it just feels so much more natural than using the Tonfa. But for anybody again who's skilled with the Tonfa, this build is going to definitely carry you very far. But yeah, that's pretty much the build. It took, like I said, it took a while, but honestly, it was fun using the Tonfa. The Tonfa are a very devastating weapon. Like, if I actually put more time into using the Tonfa, I feel like they could actually become one of my favorite weapons in the game. It's just that I would have to, mess around with them a little bit and see, how I could combo and set up different type of techniques and skills together and stuff. But I would definitely run a Tonfa build in the future if I decide, to mess around with them. But right here, I'm pretty much just gonna finish off William by, beating his ass, honestly. But for the third fight, I have a bit of a surprise for any of my OG followers, any of my followers that's been here since the beginning. You'll see when the third fight comes up. And for anyone who may ask, in the third fight, I do have level sync on, as well as a +9 penance stone, just to give me an extra handicap. That way I'm not just destroying the entire stage with my Depths of the Underworld ready build. For anybody who doesn't know, any build you make in the Depths of the Underworld will completely destroy any content before it. So if you're doing, say you go to the Depths of the Underworld, you make a build and you try to go back into Dream of the Nioh, something like that, you're going to run through stages like they're Dream of the Samurai. Like, it's going to be that easy for you to win. But as you can see, this is the stage I was talking about. This is the stage I used to run in all my build videos, but I decided to bring it back and throw on level sync and do a +9 penance stone, just to show you, how the build can do. But I'm going to stop talking and get out of here, and I'll see you guys in the second half. Again, remember, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys then. the video. Now I'm going to break down the build to you guys and show you how I put it together and everything and all the sets and stuff that I use. I'll ask again that you guys like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate everybody for showing support and you know, just sticking with me while I, you know, go through this journey on my channel. We recently hit 800 subs, so I really appreciate everybody for helping me get there. We're going to keep pushing all 2022 so we get to 1K and even further, and we're just going to keep it going. But let's get into this build. So I used the Valiant Wanderer set plus set, the 7 pieces, and I paired it with Niggy's Grace. For those of you who don't know, Valiant Wanderer is the Tonfa based set. As you can see, it comes with an increased attack and defense Tonfa, melee damage plus 6%, damage taken minus 4.5%. It comes with attack bonus courage and ultimate courage as well. So that basically allows me to not have to run ultimate courage on a scroll. So that's perfect. For people who do not know, ultimate courage is probably the best ultimate stat in the game. It works with literally any build. It honestly, I feel like you should run ultimate courage on any build you make. The reason why is because ultimate courage pretty much uses the less key the more you attack. So if we go down, as it says, reduces key consumption when attacking and greatly weakens the effect of status ailments that slow down your key recovery. So basically, it's going to allow you to attack more while using less key. Like, pretty plain and simple, and that is perfect. Key is a major factor in this game. So if you run out of key, that could be the difference between you dying and living, actually. So ultimate courage, by far the best ultimate stat. So the set that it comes with the set, so I don't have to roll it on my scroll. So that works out perfectly. I would say go with purity on these weapons. I lucked up by getting purity to roll on this weapon, but other than that, purity is the way to go in my opinion, because purity actually does the most key damage to enemies. Purity is a lot easy to get up on enemies rather than, like, say, corruption or so. If you would like to go a different element, you can. I prefer purity again because it naturally decreases the key of enemies. Like water, for example, is more so for defense debuffing. Fire is damage over time. Lightning is for, like, to slow the movement. And corruption does also do a good amount of key damage, and corruption also has, like, the plus of stealing the key away from your enemy, so you can actually steal key from your enemy if you have a corrupted weapon. The only downfall I would say with corruption weapons is that you need to have it. You need to have sentience charge. Sentience charge has to be on your gear. It has to be on your scroll. You can even get drops of star effect sentience charge on equipment, but you have to have sentience charge. If you don't have sentience charge and you're running a corruption weapon, it's going to be very difficult, and it's going to take a long time for you to build up sentience. So that's why I prefer purity, because purity is free and easy. Not to mention, you can just cheat and use a purification talisman, and now you'll get purity up on the enemy in no time. So my recommendation would be to try your best to get a purity drop, a weapon that drops with imbue purity, because purity cannot be tempered. So you can't go to the blacksmith and try to temper purity on your weapon. It has to drop randomly from, open world, and, basically just running through missions and stuff. Mystic Dyad on this weapon is not necessary, as it is on a lot of other weapons. The reason why is because only one of the Tonfa's Only one of the Tonfa's mystic arts is technically, like, necessary, and that is Apocalypse. Apocalypse increases the damage from the Tonfa when you perform a series of consecutive attacks. The Tonfas pretty much deal with overwhelming enemies and doing multiple attacks back to back. So it increases the damage. So basically, as long as you're attacking, you're getting a damage boost from this mystic art. This mystic art right here, it just allows you to cancel out of a technique using Demon Dance, which is not bad at all. It's actually very useful. It has a lot of utility, but it's not necessary to basically use the Tonfa. Like, you don't have to have Mystic Dyad on the Tonfa. They're one of the few weapons that you don't need it on. So just the fact mine came with Mystic Dyad, that's a plus for me, but you do not need it. Um, Next, we're going to come down to our ranged weapons. Our ranged weapons, what you want to do on your ranged weapon, it does not matter what stats or rolls you have on it, as long as you roll damage, bonus, agility on both of them. Other than that, it doesn't. It literally doesn't matter what stats you put on them. You won't be really using your ranged weapon unless you make a build around using ranged weapons. Other than that, this is just for getting you through levels and picking off enemies, so you don't have to fight as many at once. Pretty much. Other than that, as long as you have damage, bonus, agility on both of these, you're good to go. Next, we have our equipment. I am running five armor pieces of the Valiant Wanderer set, and then a Shooting Doji mask. The Shooting Doji mask, in my opinion, is probably one of the best helmets in the game. It comes with anima, and it also comes with increased attack on animal absorption. Basically, anytime you absorb any type of anima, you're getting attack bonus. So it's by far, in my opinion, the best helmet in the game. And it's heavy. It's a heavy helmet as well, so it'll help you, boost your toughness a little bit, just to, help with your defense. Because this set is a medium set, I cannot get anything. I cannot go over 300 toughness with this set at all. I cannot get over 300 toughness. Like, as you see, I rolled toughness on each piece of gear, and the only way I probably would even get close to getting over 300 toughness is if it was star effect toughness on my gear. But getting star effect toughness is not, I wouldn't say it's something that you should go for. Like, it's not something you should farm for. It's not something you should try to, get equipment drops for. My advice would be to try to get star effect melee key damage and melee damage on your pieces of gear. As you can see, I have melee damage and melee key damage rolled on each piece of gear. I also have melee key damage on my weapon. If you don't know, the Tonfa are best for dealing melee key damage. Any weapon in the game that is a blunt weapon that is not bladed is good for melee key damage. All bladed weapons are good for melee damage as a whole. So keep that in mind whenever making a build or going through the game and stuff, or choosing a weapon. If you want to deal more melee key damage, go with a weapon that is a blunt weapon, like the Tonfa, or say the split staff, or the fists. Those are blunt weapons. Those do melee key damage. But the sword, the claws, dual swords, odachi, pretty much any bladed weapon in the game, those will deal more melee damage. So keep that in mind when making your builds. But again, I roll melee key damage and melee damage on each piece of gear. You do want to try to roll attack on each piece of gear as well, because it'll give you, an extra boost to your damage. It's not like massive, but it is enough to help you deal more damage. I did try this build out with two different sets. I tried it out with Oyama Sumi and Ninigi's. I even tried to run 7 pieces of Ninigi. For anybody who doesn't know, Ninigi is pretty much like the key damage set, and the 7-piece stat is Finishing Flare. Finishing Flare is actually pretty good. It increases the damage dealt in proportion to your scale of your key damage when you're performing melee attacks against winded enemies, grapple, or final blow. So basically, whenever an enemy is winded, basically in the red or at 0 key, you'll deal more damage by hitting them and also grappling them and doing final blows. But in my test, the way this build is now, it puts out more damage. Not to mention, my weapon altogether has more attack power. So as you can see, I'm at 6,990 right now. If I was to switch to 7-piece Ninigi, which is this right here, my weapon drops all the way down to 6,766. So as you can see, if you run the 6-piece Wanderer and 7-piece Ninigi, you'll lose the extra attack bonus courage, and you'll lose ultimate courage. So I would go with the 7-piece for Wanderer, Valiant Wanderer, and 6-piece Ninigis. Now again, you can run it with Valiant Wanderer and Oyama Sumi. As you can see right here, Oyama Sumi is a very good set for defense. Since this build is focused around medium armor, you're not going to be tanky. You won't be tanky at all. That's not what this build is about. This build is about pure melee key damage and skill. You have to, if you're going to use the Tonfa, you have to have some type of skill with the Tonfa. I do not recommend any weapon in the game that you are not skilled at using. The reason why is because it's going to make your time a lot harder on this game. Go with the weapon that you know inside and out. Go with the weapon that you're comfortable with. Stick to that weapon. It's okay to not have 10 different builds for each weapon in the game. It's fine. Me personally, I don't, all the builds that I've made, I don't use any of those builds whenever I'm playing this game just for fun or going through certain levels. I use strictly the build or the weapon that I like to use. So that basically means my dual sword build. I love the dual swords. I may switch between dual swords and fists, but other than that, I will stick with the dual swords because that's the weapon I feel as though I'm the best with. So, it's always fun, to switch it up and stuff like that. But in my experience, I feel like it's more fun to win rather than, to try to switch it up and be frustrated that you're not beating a level. So stick to a weapon that you're comfortable with. The Tonfa are very skill heavy. The reason why is because they have little or like damn near no reach. You have to be up close and personal when you're using this build. So again, this build is more so for people who are very skilled with the Tonfa. But it is a very powerful build. Don't get me wrong; it's very strong. Down to our accessories, I'm running a Yasakani and then a regular Makatama for the anima charge and the Makatama. I would have rolled life recovery and writ absorption on both, but this one came with star effect auto life recovery. So that would have conflicted with the life recovery on Unritta. So I'm fine with this. I have defense bonus courage on both of these to increase the defense even further. I also have ailment affliction duration on both of these, which gives me around close to 50%, pretty much 50%, basic 50% less time afflicted by any ailments and stuff like that. So it's very good. The main thing I would say you want to get on your pieces of gear or try to get, there are three things: star effect sloth on Omeo hit, star effect melee versus zero key enemies, and then star effect melee versus purified or melee versus whatever element you're going for. So melee versus saturated for water, melee versus electrified for lightning, melee versus scorched for fire. You can even get melee versus corrupted enemy for a corruption build. As long as you have those three star effect skills, you have the perfect accessory roles. These don't have those, but if I was to grind even more, I could probably get some. It's going to take a while to get, but what they are, what this is now is pretty good, honestly. So if you want like I said, if you want the god roll for your accessories, melee versus zero key, melee versus whatever element you're using, and sloth on Omeo magic hit. You can even go sloth on ninjutsu hit if you prefer ninjutsu over magic. I prefer magic, but if you prefer ninjutsu, sloth on ninjutsu hit. So either one of those will work. But those are the three that you need to aim for whenever going for whenever putting together your accessories. As for my scroll, I have Anima Charge, Key Recovery Speed, Ultimate Magic, Ultimate Constitution, Extended Curse Notification, and Path of the Beast. Ultimate Magic is by far my second favorite ultimate stat because it allows me to use both of my Omeo Mystic Arts, which if you don't know, the Omeo Mystic Arts, one of them allows you to use your magic faster, which is very good because mid-battle, if your magic runs out, you want to be able to pop your magic as quickly as possible and get right back into the fight. And then you have amplification, which extends the duration and the effects of the magic. So like it might not say it might not say it enhances your magic, but it for sure makes your magic a lot more powerful. For example, your barrier talisman, if you use barrier talisman, it'll last you, I think, around 30 to 45 seconds, maybe even longer than that, like around a minute. And fights don't last that long in this game. The fights can last you between 1 to 3 minutes, if that. And the Omeo, the barrier talisman will last you around 45 to a minute if you're moving fast enough. So that's a very long time if you take that in consideration. Um, and then we have Path of the Beast. Path of the Beast is a very good skill that comes on Scrolls of the Dam. You can only get these type of skills on Scrolls of the Dam. You cannot get them on anything else. So if you want like a Path of the Beast, Path of the Avarice, Path of the Gods, something like that, you need to have a Scroll of the Dam. They will not roll on Scrolls of the Nioh or anything less. But Path of the Beast increases the damage and key damage dealt by yokai abilities in exchange for consuming more anima when using them. So you might think, oh, why would I want to use more anima just for a little bit extra key damage? That comes into effect with our magic. So the fact that I'm using more anima means that I can run Arch Yokai. Arch Yokai gives me anima gain whenever I'm pretty much pop it. So like if I'm as long as I'm fighting, I'll begin to gain more anima the more I fight. So the more damage I do, the more anima I gain back, which would allow me to pretty much cancel out the effects of Path of the Beast while also gaining its positive effects of the increased key damage with my yokai abilities. So it synergizes very well with the build. And Ultimate Constitution, for those of you who don't know, Ultimate Constitution basically gives me health regen as long as my health is around 70%. So if I'm around 70% or above, I get health regen without having to pop an elixir or something. So I'll just pretty much get my health back as time progresses. But that is my scroll. Going over my magic or my items regularly. I've got my elixirs. I got purification talisman, just to help me, get purity up on the enemy as quickly as possible. That way I can start dealing that key damage and draining their key and get them out of there. Steel is for defense increase, for blocking basically. Some people may think that this allows you to tank hits. It does not. It allows your defense. It allows you basically to not take damage when blocking. Also, it reduces, I think it reduces the amount of ki you lose while blocking as well. But you need to be blocking when using steel. If you're not blocking when using steel, you're going to take a lot of damage because steel is not protection. Protection talisman is the one that helps you tank damage. So if say you get hit, right, and you're not blocking, protection talisman will pretty much nullify the damage that you just took, or nullify the hit you just took. Steel is for blocking, for defense. So whenever you're using steel talents, make sure you're blocking, and you should basically take less of a hit when you pop this talisman. Next we have barrier. Barrier basically helps me increase my key recovery, and also it purifies yokai pools whenever you touch them. Basically, it's perfect for this kind of build, just because ultimate courage is allowing me to use less key, and barrier is allowing me to just instantly recover key as quickly as possible, so I can attack. I can do a continuous flow of attacks before I end up getting the 0 key myself. So barrier is probably one of the most important talismans to use. Next we have extraction. Extraction helps me draw anima from the enemy as long as I'm attacking. This is also a very, very important magic talisman, strictly because of life recovery on unrid absorption, the faster key recovery on unrid absorption I have right here, as well as proccing the increased attack on unrid absorption. So talisman allows me to draw unrid from the enemy, and it procs all these buffs that I get just from absorbing unrid. So extraction is very, very important as well. Arch Yokai again helps me gain back anima, basically just from fighting. Water talisman. I chose water because water is a natural defense debuffer. You can use any type. You can use any of the talismans: fire, water, lightning. Either one doesn't matter. I chose water because again, it gives me a natural defense debuff, and not to mention it helps me get confusion up on the enemy when I pop my purification talisman, and then this at the same time. It also procs my sloth on Omeo hit. So water familiar actually has 3 different uses. It helps me debuff the enemy, defense debuff the enemy. It helps me get confusion up on the enemy, paired with the purification talisman, and it also activates the sloth on Omeo hit. So it's very useful. The water the familiar talismans are good. The water, fire, and lightning ones, all 3 of them are good. So either one you want to use is perfectly fine. I just chose water. Next we have these are just like random stuff that I use. This doesn't really matter as much. Quick change is very important. Quick change is by far my favorite ninjutsu item. It literally gives you a second life. So if you happen to get hit, or maybe you didn't block in time, or maybe you dodged a little too late and you get hit and you die, this will allow you to come back and continue fighting. Just make sure that you're being careful, because you can, as soon as you come back, the scroll is no longer active. So if you get hit again immediately after coming back, you will die. So make sure you're being careful when using this. Once you come back, you can be aggressive and like do a drop attack from the air, because you'll come back from the air, or you can just drop down and get away from the enemy, pop another one. That way, if you do die again, it'll reactivate. And these are just my ninjutsu running scrolls. This allows me to go invisible. This one quiets my footsteps, and this one just allows me to run faster. And now we're going to move on to our guardian spirit. I'm using Yumehame. Yumehame is the melee key damage guardian spirit. This gave me 20% extra melee key damage, already added on to the melee key damage I have rolled on each piece of gear and my weapon. So as you can see, I'm definitely trying to stack the melee key damage as much as possible. It also has faster key recovery on unreal absorption, which isn't really necessary because I have that already on my accessory. But if I didn't, then it would also still be, a good stat to have. The second guardian spirit I'm running is, which one is it? Is Baku. For people who don't know, Baku and Yumehame are pretty much the same guardian spirit. One is just for dark, other one is for light. It's pretty much like light and dark type, counterparts and stuff. But they, a lot of people don't know that certain guardian spirits, when paired together, give a special type of buff to your character. So, like, for example, I have Yumehame, right? If I was to pair Yumehame with, say, Hakutaku, all I'm getting is anima charge on a strong attack, right? Same with Tengen Kujaku, anima charge on strong attack. Most of these give the same buffs, but the same minimum buffs and stuff like that. But certain guardian spirits that you pair together may give a special kind of buff. So as you can see, as I'm going through, you see yokai ability attack, yokai ability damage brute, key consumption yokai shift, anima charge strong attack, key consumption yokai shift, yokai ability damage brute. Like, you're pretty much recycling through the same three type of extra skills and stuff, like extra buffs and stuff. But if I come down here to Baku, Baku is the only one. Where is it? Baku is the only one that gives you max yokai ability key damage. Now, it is only 3%, but that max ability yokai key damage is a better buff, in my opinion, than, say, anima charge on strong attack, right? Because you're not going to be doing, depending on which weapon you're using, you're not going to be doing strong attacks that often. More than likely, you'll probably do one strong attack and then switch back to doing your regular normal light attacks. So in order to charge your anima quickly, you would literally have to continually keep doing strong attacks, and that's not recommended because strong attacks take a lot of time to activate sometimes, and that can leave you open for attack yourself. So make sure when you're picking your guardian spirits and you're pretty much pairing them together, that you go through and check and see which ones have different type of buffs. For example, this one right here has anima bonus on confused enemy. So, like, a lot of these, Amrita bonus, inflict purified. Like, a lot of these have certain buffs that you might want to check out and pair together, depending on which guardian spirit you're using. So go through, check them out, see which ones you like that pair together, see which ones you think will help you, beat the level or beat the area that you're going up against. But that is the build right there. I'll go over my stats. So I'm running 200 Constitution and 200 Courage because my weapons scale with both Constitution and Courage. As you can see, I've remodeled them to scale with Constitution and Courage. I'm also running 150 magic and 150 stamina. Now, the only reason I'm running 150 stamina is because I tried something different with the build before, finalizing it as is, and I just honestly didn't change the stats back. You do not need 150 stamina. It's really not necessary. It doesn't give you anything extra. Now, if I was running ultimate stamina and my toughness was over, say, like 300, 350, then I would actually be able to have double A toughness. But with this build, I would never be able to be over 300 toughness just because it's too light of armor for that to happen. So 150 stamina, honestly, is not necessary. If anything, I would probably dump most of that into heart and put my stamina high enough just to have me in B agility. Other than that, there's no point in having 150 stamina really. 150 magic is for ultimate magic. For any ultimate stats, you have to have 150 in that stat in order to use the ultimate stats. So yeah, so 200 Constitution, 200 Courage for my weapons, 150 Magic for ultimate magic. Again, my stamina is at 150 because of some preliminary stuff I was doing with the build, so you don't have to worry about that. Just make sure your stamina is high enough for you to be in B agility or higher. Heart is at 52, but again, I would probably dump most of my stats into heart. The rest of my stat points into heart after getting stamina up high enough to be in B agility. Dexterity is at 20, just because that's honestly all I need at the time. Um, Skill and strength are at 10, just at the soft caps. So that's how my stats look. They're pretty balanced in how they're split up and stuff. But again, the only thing I would change is take the stamina down just to make sure I'm over B agility, and then put the rest into heart to give me more key. As for my special effects, my melee damage is up to 32.7%, which isn't bad. It's close to anything that's close to 40, 50% is really good. Obviously anything over 50% is great, but melee damage is melee damage isn't the main effect of this build. Melee key damage is. So that's what my main focus on was for this build. Melee key damage, doing as much melee key damage as possible. That way I get you on 0 key and I can just continue to attack you over and over and over again. As we go down, you see my melee key damage is at 94.4. Of course, I could have made that higher. If I were to get melee key damage on my scroll, maybe that would go a lot higher, probably over 100% melee key damage. But 94.4 is still very, very good. But that's pretty much the main stat that I was going for, really. Other than that, I think the only other stat that kind of matters is the ailment affliction. I'm trying to find that right now. Um, where is it? There it is. Ailment affliction duration is at 49.8%. So anytime you're afflicted with something, that means you're afflicted with maybe scorch, saturated, electrified, purification, corruption. That's when you're afflicted. When you basically are when you're taking damage from a certain element. That element affliction duration will help me basically shake that element off quicker now. So if I didn't have that, I would probably be afflicted for a much longer period in duration, and then it would put me in danger of dying. But since I have the ailment affliction duration up, I will have a better chance of survivability by getting rid of my affliction like much quicker. So it might not seem like a big stat, but it's definitely helpful. And any stats in this game are helpful because any little mess up or screw up or any slip up or loss of focus or anything in this game could be death. So any type of stats you get, any little bit of stats you get in a certain category, they always help. But that is everything. That's the build. Again, I'm sorry it took so long. It was the scroll. Honestly, this scroll took me the longest amount of time to get, but we got it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate you all. Again, remember to like, comment, subscribe. We're on our way to 1K. We're almost there. So hopefully we can get there soon. And stay tuned for more live streams and more videos. It's King Ray Diamonds, and I'm out.